welcome to episode 245 of School Librarians United. I am your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian in my 17th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. Friends, I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can find me either on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is @LMS_United, or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. Be sure to listen to episode 224. I announce a sponsorship with Literati Book Fairs. And now is a chance to hear from one of Literati's team members, Billy Dixon. Thank you for being here. Billy, would you introduce yourself to listeners and tell us what you do for Literati?
Hi, my name's Billy Dixon, and I am a manager with Literati. I have a team of account managers who help librarians run their book fairs. So very excited to be here at NCSLMA. As you mentioned, it's a chance for us to get out here and see these librarians face to face. We spend so much time behind our computers. The majority of us work from home. The chance to come out and to ask questions, to introduce Literati to the general public, and just to have that one-on-one opportunity with librarians is good times for us. It's very exciting.
I appreciate that. Oftentimes when we're making this decision to have a book fair, it's out of necessity. It's because we truly want to be able to do more for our students and our entire school community, and it's an opportunity for families to support our program, but also make sure that they get books into the hands of their students. So let me ask you, you set up at a conference, you're meeting school librarians. What kinds of questions are you getting from school librarians?
A lot of the librarians are just wanting to know who we are and what we do. So I'm having the opportunity to tell the Literati story, to be able to talk to them about the book fairs, about the Literati book clubs, about our opportunity to keep those students reading all around the year. A lot of people see those book fairs as necessary evil. We don't want it to be that way. We don't want it to be about just the fundraiser. We want to make sure that we're getting books in the hands of students and that becomes the mission.
I love that. Thank you so much. Listen, I really appreciate you being here. Friends, I had to wait till the crowd of librarians sort of moved away. You were sort of, there was a crowd here for quite a while until the next session opened. But I'll tell you, it's awfully fun. You have some of the coolest swag. And friends, you better believe I'm going to be sporting some of this swag on my conference jacket. But, I'm so grateful that I love working with Literati. And I know that this is not the first time you've come and done book fairs. But can you tell me, how has your experience working with Literati and their book fairs, how is this really, you're part of the team, and what do you like about being part of the team?
It's just so different. I have 20 plus years in the book fair, 20 plus years experience in the book fair world, and to come to a company that the mission is truly getting books in the hands of students, one way or another, we want to make sure that happens. So being part of that, understanding the passion that from the owner all the way down that everybody in this company has to support that mission makes it a good company to work for.
Billy Dixon, I hope you have a fantastic conference. I'm grateful to be on the team with you and Literati. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Friends, be sure to tune in and learn all about Literati and their very generous offer. Librarians who book their very first Literati Book Fair for this upcoming school year and mention the code UNITED when booking may qualify for a $500 gift card to Titlewave. Visit the link in today's show notes and call the Literati team to see if you qualify. And now a word from our sponsor, Capstone. Capstone is an innovative publisher and education technology provider of children's content for school libraries, classrooms, and at-home learning. Home of the award-winning PebbleGo research database, Capstone has a passion for creating inspired learning and intellectual curiosity in children. I am so excited to be working with them. I am also grateful to Capstone for their continued commitment to support the podcast in Season 6. They are offering listeners of School Librarians United a very special discount. Visit shop.capstonepub.com and use the code UNITED to get $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and Capstone interactive ebooks. That's code UNITED for $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and ebooks on shop.capstonepub.com. Last week, I was invited to speak at North Carolina's annual conference for school librarians. This journey began in September 2022 with an invitation from the conference chairperson, Christy Sartain. I'm so fortunate to have already collaborated with quite a few school librarians from North Carolina, so I was very excited to be able to join them for this conference. The first time I interviewed somebody from North Carolina actually goes all the way back to the summer of 2019, and that was episode 38 with Amy Ralph. And when you realize we're on episode 245, this is going back quite a ways, but I've also had an opportunity to interview other school librarians in North Carolina, including Scott Summers and Julie Stivers and Faith Huff and Jennifer Long, as well as Dr. Heather Moorfield-Lang. I did want to share one especially memorable episode, which I did record with a North Carolina school librarian, Stephanie Fielder, and I reached out to her on the day that ALA Annual in 2020 was canceled due to the pandemic. It was also coincidentally the same day that the Tokyo Olympics were postponed. And that night I reached out to her and she responded right away. I'm like, let's do an episode because neither you nor I are going to be presenting in Chicago this summer because that conference was canceled. And it was really an incredibly important opportunity to be reminded that the podcast is pandemic proof. And she and I had a great conversation. It was episode 75, Hygge and Happiness. And it really was a way to sort of take back what we had lost in the way of in-person conferences by being able to have a podcast episode. And it was really validating. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the presenters who so graciously shared their presentations. I was able to duck in and out of different sessions during the conference and catch parts of people's presentations and then speak with them after they had concluded their presentation. And then, I was selfishly asking if they wouldn't mind putting some of those links in the show notes because obviously everybody loves a great presentation. And I was able to talk to them about putting together those ideas that they did. And then they were gracious and shared links in our show notes. And I wanted to also especially thank Missy Parrott because this dually talented school librarian and conference photographer who was incredibly generous in offering to share with me some of the photos that she had taken while I was at the conference. And now for today's episode, Spotlight and C-SLAMA and my conversation with the school librarians of North Carolina.
Hi, I am Dr. Heather Moorfield-Lang. I'm an associate professor at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And what I do is teach future librarians of all types, but I specifically work with school librarians, mostly North Carolina, but really all over the U.S. and the world. We've got a student in Saudi Arabia this year. And so working on getting them ready to work in school libraries, but I teach technology courses, so I'll have information scientists, public librarians, academic, computer science. We also have an instructional design degree now, so anyone.
So, Dr. Moorfield-Lang, how have you adjusted what you teach each semester, given the extraordinary circumstances which school librarians find themselves in today, specifically the attacks on our collection and on ourselves as professionals in the library?
So, for the attacks on our collections and on us as librarians, I specifically co-teach one of my peers, Dr. April Dawkins. She teaches it in the fall, and I teach it in the spring, and it's a school library management course. That course in particular is where we very much focus on how to work with our patrons, our students, our parents, our communities, school boards, making sure that you have policies, just policies, and then how you write policies, how you work with your media technology committees in your schools, in your district, how you put those together. But we still have folks who don't have selection policies. And we know not everybody runs by the rules and follows them, but have one. And then we go from there. Because when we see that legislature levels, state levels are like, well, we need to have selection policies. There's already policies. And so we need to make sure we have policies. And then we also go through scenarios. Sometimes we do some acting out. The students aren't always as keen on acting out. I have a theater background, so, I find it kind of fun to at least do some scenarios or some scripts of what happens if, this occurs, if someone comes in with, this particular dialogue, or they take a book, or they want to request a book be removed, or they challenge a book. Just, I actually have a running catalog of increasingly serious scenarios, as it were, from someone challenging a book to someone who's blatantly just taken the book out, or someone is, protesting your school, or whatever the case may be. And then also getting involved with your local education groups, your local library associations. So there's a lot that's always been in the courses, but there's even more of it now. Now, in terms of my technology class, I've actually been increasing a great deal of my information about artificial intelligence. Here at the conference where we're talking today, I've got more artificial intelligence resources, sites, and materials that I'm introducing as well, because that is a huge conversation with a lot of fear around it. And so I'm trying to, kind of shake off some of that fear, because it's just one more tech, it's one more thing, and it's one more thing we're going to have in our world.
Well, and friends, I got to tell you, as somebody who graduated from my library program at Wayne State University, neither of these topics were even on the radar. Dr. Heather Morfield-Lang, I would hope that you could promote the program that you provide, because I know it is an online program and available to any of our listeners. Would you just shamelessly let listeners know where we can learn more about the program you teach? Because, friends, the reason why Dr. Heather Morfield-Lang and I have become acquainted is because you have such a fan base, including listeners to the podcast who said, indeed, I had to interview their favorite instructor. So would you shamelessly promote your program?
I appreciate the kind words. UNC Greensboro is 8th ranked in the nation, number 1 in North Carolina. We are a fully online synchronous program. Pretty much all of our classes are at night. We are in the top 5, definitely 10 most economically friendly programs. So we actually have folks from their own states come to our program instead, because we are less expensive, but no less useful or as productive as other programs, but we're just less expensive than other in-state programs. Not only do we have a full Master's of Library Science, we also have a new program and licensure, as well as degree in instructional design. And you can also get a dual degree. We're working on that, a dual certification in instructional design as well as library science. That's going to be available in the fall, next fall, 2024. And so we just have a lot going on. I mean, my director, Lisa O'Connor, is continuously looking at the field, what we need. We're looking at doing a management certification for those who want to go into leadership, and especially in like public libraries. We're always looking at the field. We are talking to experts in the field and just really trying to make sure that we are delivering what it is that you need as a librarian, as an information specialist, as an instructional designer, all of those types of things. Of course, I am biased. I think we are the best. We love what we do, and it's very much useful material that you're going to learn in our program that you can take straight into a library. And our overall program is around like 88% job placement. Our school library program, I think we're 97% placement. And the other 3% are just people who are waiting for like the school they want, or their kid to get out of kindergarten, or, a baby to be born, or, someone's waiting for like the perfect opportunity. But our job placement is very high.
I'm so grateful we were able to meet today. I got to tell you, I got off the plane and knew I would find a smiling face in the crowd. I can't wait to spend the next couple days here in North Carolina with you. Thank you so much, Dr. Morfield-Lang.
Thank you. Excited to have you here.
My name is Angie Headley, and I am the elementary school librarian at A.B. Combs Elementary Leadership Magnet Elementary in Raleigh. I've been there this is my 11th year as the librarian, and I've taught school previously for 14 years before that. My passion with it all is about getting books into kids' hands. I get to teach students all day long, which is also kind of what I love about it. But I also love the fact that everything I do is centered around literacy. I emphasize that. My admin is supportive of that. We are the key to the school's culture of reading that we have established. And that is probably what I am most proud of.
I got to see you win a wonderful award. It was a complete surprise. You looked genuinely surprised 5 minutes ago. We learned that you were North Carolina's School Library Coordinator of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It was an absolute surprise. My very best friend nominated me a little while back, and we just kind of thought it was not. We didn't know what was happening, actually. And so I did not know it was happening, and she did a great job of keeping it a secret from me, along with my whole entire family.
Well, and this is library karma. Good things come to those who work hard. Absolutely. So I had a couple questions because we've just met, but I've heard some of the highest compliments be paid about you, including that you're a librarian's librarian. And if somebody said that about me, I think I would fall apart. But would you give me some context, because that's what your friend described you as. Would you let listeners know, all of whom are school librarians, many of them who would love to also someday be the librarian's librarian. What does that mean to you?
I think it's all about creating the supportive network for each other. So when I first was a teacher, that was something that I focused on a lot, was my team and supporting the teachers that were around me in whatever way I could at the school. And then coming into the librarian role, that's such a core part of the library that I have a tech role. I am the grants coordinator. I'm on lead team. I'm part of SIP. I have my hand in just about everything in a way that lets me support those around me. And so I work in a really big district. And so we have lots of programs that allow me to support the other librarians as well. We are all isolated in our buildings generally in the elementary level. And so what better way to help others than to become a librarian mentor? I mentor teachers also, but I also had the ability for the last few years to mentor other librarians. And so we are able to support first and second year librarians through the program. And so our district actually organizes it so that we have regular meetings, time off from our jobs that give us time together. But then I also do that informally as well. I also have wonderful friends. All of my friends are librarians. And I think that between us, we are constantly looking for ways to lift each other up and to make sure that we are speaking for each other when we need to, as well as for all of our feelings are the same. My echo chamber is that the students are the center of the program. And so we're always encouraging other librarians to speak for that too. Always ask yourself why you're doing something and where the importance, what is important about this. And if it doesn't come back to this is what's best for the kids, then we relook at that. And so I think I'm just part of a really good network of people that are constantly lifting each other up and supporting each other in whatever way we can, so none of us ever feel alone in our buildings. And I think that that's better for everybody, but also better for all of those kids in multiple buildings.
Fantastic. So I also heard about a program that you are part of. It's called Wake Up and Read. And I just need details now because, anytime school librarians can listen to something on the show and then replicate it in their own space, I appreciate that this is probably not where we do that deep dive, but give us, what is Wake Up and Read and how are you affiliated with it?
So Wake Up and Read is a program that actually is part of Wake County Schools in North Carolina. The goal of it is to make sure that we are assisting the literacy level of the students in our county. And in terms of that statistic, which is by third grade, that's indicative of what happens to them for literally the rest of their life. And so our goal is to contribute to that. We are a coalition, so we work with a ton of other nonprofits to get books in the hands of kids and provide community opportunities as well as resources for parents to start at an even younger age to make sure that that kids are getting the literacy skills they need at the times that they need them. A huge part of what we do is we do a massive book drive in January and February, usually brings in over 100,000 books, and then those books are then sorted and redistributed to our 15 lowest performing schools. Every student in those schools walks away with 10 books that they get to have for their at-home library. So if you go to one of those schools for 6 years, you get a 60-book library by the time you're done. So I am a volunteer. I volunteer there. I do book sorting. I do a lot of organizational things that help out with the sorting and the volunteers. I do a lot of looking at books that are damaged and kind of saying, this is not good to give to somebody. And so we make those decisions. They get recycled or they get given to organizations that actually could use them. Adult books, religious books, that kind of thing. We sort out probably double maybe what we actually get to distribute because so much gets donated. We have a strong community. And so they also are key to a program I do in the summer, which is called Books at the Bus Stop, which is I go to my students' bus stops all summer long, once a week with volunteers from my school and make sure that they also get free books all summer long. So if they come all summer, they get about a 50-book library each year. And Wake Up and Read is how I get my books. So this is a relationship that I have, it's just amazing. Like they provide the books. Some of them are new, some of them are gently read, but I'm able to support the students at my school directly in this way too. And so Wake Up and Read, it supports so many things in our community. I'm lucky to be the benefit, but I'm one of probably 50 organizations that benefits from their literacy goals in trying to build up our community.
I am so glad that we had an opportunity to talk. I hope you have a fantastic conference. You're here. Everybody is going to celebrate this wonderful recognition you've received. Thank you so much for sharing today.
All right. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. It was great to meet you.
My name's Melissa Hubengarner. I'm a middle school librarian at a 5-8 middle school in Chatham County, North Carolina. And I'm on a fixed flex schedule. I have one class every day that's fixed, and it's 5th grade because I'm on the rotation wheel, but the rest is flex.
Fantastic. Now, I want to hear about the SLAP program. And would you please let listeners know what it is?
So SLAP is an elective for 6th through 8th graders, and it's Student Library Ambassador Program. And my kids have to apply, and they come in and they learn how to work in the library, learn how to run the library. They learn how to make social media posts and shelve books. I think I've shelved like 10 books all year. It's been amazing. I have 13 this semester, and I have 15 or 20 next semester. They don't all come at the same time, so I have a different amount of each class, but they have definitely made my life easier. It's a little work on the front end, and you have to keep working with them, but they do a great job of keeping my library under control and clean and organized.
All things that alone would be fantastic. The fact that they are responsible for so many good things in your space is commendable. So let's talk a little bit about how much you've been able to increase your circulation in your space.
So I started at this school in August of last year, about 2 weeks before school started, and I came in and I did a huge inventory first, and then I did a huge weed, and we found some mold, so I ended up throughout the year weeding about 8,000 books from the library and through the book room. And so I've been doing more dynamic shelving. I also genrefy the library. So last year, through the entire year, I think I had 2,500 in circulations this year. Since the middle of August, we've had 1,200 circulations already. So we definitely are increasing circulation. We're making it more accessible. My kids are in the library all the time. Like I have 6th graders coming in to check out all the time. I do a lot of book talking. I don't know, just being a presence. The kids come in the library when they arrive to school before the bell rings, so they get to see me and learn about the library that way. And I don't know, I just make myself a presence in the library and get to know the kids, build relationships. That's always important too, but just promoting books and promoting reading and talking about books all the time.
Consistently, I'm aware that people are afraid of middle school. So now I know you don't think that middle schoolers are scary, but tell me, what is it that you have had to do to really connect with your middle schoolers? Because I know they can be particularly judgmental of the teachers they work with.
So they can be scary. Honestly, I will be scared of them too. So I build relationships with them, first of all, but also we are huge sneakerheads at my school. So even if you just, like I bought Nike Air Forces, they think that is cool. We also have Croc charms that they can get in the library. So they think that is cool. They're $0.25 and I buy them in bulk. They love that. So that helps build that relationship. And just like joking with them, teasing them. I have a school library TikTok. We don't have any followers right now, so don't. They're working on that. So just getting to know what they like, talking about what they like, listening to them. I listen to them complain about things, and I just ask them guiding questions like, why do you feel that way? Like, what could you have done differently? So I try to be like really neutral as far as their other teacher relations go, but I think that helps, just being there and listening to them.
Melissa, I hope you have a fantastic conference. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm a school librarian at elementary school, and this is my, I think, 6th year doing this job. Before that, I was an elementary school teacher for 3rd grade for many, many years. I taught 2 years in the classroom in the school that I'm currently at, and was able to move into the position of school librarian.
What was that like? Because one year you're in the classroom, and then the next year you're in the same school, but you're in a much bigger classroom with very different demands.
Well, I think there's a lot of different aspects of it. It was neat to be a teacher and understand the teacher mentality and the hard work that goes into teaching and how much time you don't have to pick resources. So I knew I was able to help teachers with that. I had relationships with a lot of the teachers, so that was a great mix. And I loved teaching because you were able to really communicate and connect with the students that were in your classroom and have a really great community. But that was a really big change moving into the school library, because now you have K-5 students. You have 600 plus students that you're trying to build a community and that kind of relationship with students. So that became a very big change in mentality and how I would approach that.
So I'm dying to know, because you were a 3rd grade teacher. You taught the middle of the pack. Now you have to teach the littles and the kids who think that they're already in middle school because, they're too good for this place. So tell me, what was the biggest shock? Teaching the littles or teaching the kids? Actually, you would have taught them before as their 3rd grade teacher, correct?
Right. I think a lot of repetition. I mean, I repeated myself many times in 3rd grade, but those littles and just slowing things down, taking the time to really express my expectations and just the procedures and that sort of thing, and just taking things slow, like over the years, learning how to do that.
Wonderful. I also understand your schedule changed like almost as soon as you got there, but tell us what happened and how did you adjust to it?
The first year I was in the library after teaching, it was a fully flex schedule. So I had all the time in the day to, do all of the things, and more things like technology and other resources coming into the school. I had to spend a lot of time doing that. And then we changed into a semi-fixed schedule where I was teaching a couple of grade levels on a fixed schedule. So that was a big change in trying to think about how to still use and manage my time. I had to really schedule and manage it in a way that, looking at all of the tasks that I have and how am I going to complete those and what comes first before the other. And that made it a little bit more challenging too, to even meet with teachers as I was teaching their students when they were in PLCs. So you didn't have, it was a different way of communicating with students and teachers, because some things became more automated in a sense of like emails and not face-to-face conversations. So that was a hard change, because I was so used to being able to go and do things for everybody on a dime, turn around and help somebody.
I'm curious to know, when you go back to work, what is something you're hoping to do this year that will really sort of get the kids excited about being in the library?
That's a great question. I think just continuing to build that community in the library so that it is the hub. It truly is the hub of the school for teachers and staff and the students and their families. I think there's just so many ways to do that. And so I'm looking forward to learning more about how to create that community within the library.
Hannah, have a fantastic conference. Thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you so much.
My name is Colleen Graham. I am an educational technology specialist for Wayne County Public Schools in Goldsboro, North Carolina.
So tell me, what is your job like every day?
Every day is something different. I support the media coordinators in our district. I'm their point of contact to the district level and central office. So I go out and I support them in the schools. I advocate for them at the district level and just do whatever I can to get them what they need.
But I'm curious because you're a school librarian first and foremost. You were in the school library. How do you think being a school librarian has given you an edge over anybody doing this job who doesn't come with that kind of background?
They designed this program just for us. They specifically tailored it to media coordinators. We are used to being leaders in our schools and supporting our teachers and staff and being the first ones to grab hold of technology and run with it. So we're used to being those models. So now I'm just modeling it on a grander scale and encouraging the media coordinators to step up and take that leadership role in their schools.
There's a lot going on right now, and obviously you're trying to stay a few steps ahead of the rest of us. What are you looking to implement in the next coming weeks? Because I realize technology is always changing.
Oh, goodness. AI has been really popular with us, and it takes one more thing off their plate. I mean, you can turn to ChatGPT, Magic School AI, any of those programs to help you with planning and getting ideas and filling in the blanks. You just need to perk it up from there. So
I'm curious because not everybody is working in districts that are so ready to embrace AI as a learning tool, as a teaching tool. What would you say to a room full of doubters? Because obviously you've had to confront some of this pushback, I'm sure, from people who just don't know nearly as much as you do about AI.
Well, it's important that you are fact-checking and going back and checking it because it does just invent things if it doesn't have an answer for you. So you do have to keep that in mind. But it's really, I think the biggest fear people have with it is that the students are going to be using it and not thinking for themselves. So you just need to change the way you assign things to the students so that, they can use the AI to develop their lesson or give them ideas or make their outline, or it could make their paragraph for them and then they're going to go back and add to it or edit it. You just have to take it a step further.
Fantastic. Colleen, I know you're here at the conference. You've been part of the planning process. What is it about this conference that you're really excited to share with fellow school librarians?
This is all just about networking and getting to know other librarians and getting to share ideas and have them share what they're doing that works in their district or share what they've had to overcome and how they did it. It's just we work in silos. There's one media coordinator in a school usually. So this is your chance to share and learn with others and just get out of your box.
Colleen, thank you so much for being part of the planning process because I know this didn't come together just magically. I know a lot of people had boots on the ground and you were part of that. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of the school year.
Thank you so much.
I am Heath Radford, and I'm from Eastern Wayne High School in Goldsboro, North Carolina.
Well, how long have you been a high school librarian?
I've been a high school librarian for about 6 years.
Fantastic. But, that's not all you do. You are also on NC SLAMA's board of directors. And this is, sort of a busy week for you. But let me ask, what is it that you do for this organization? Because I know that there are a lot of people contributing to the leadership of your state organization.
Yeah, so the position I'm in was actually created last year. It's a conference director. And basically what I do is I'm working as like a liaison with like the hotels, the convention centers here, sitting in with all the different committees and working with the president-elect as like a kind of a co-person in putting the conference together. So,
okay, I'm not familiar with this role because for me, it's always been if you're president-elect, you got to run with it. So it sounds like you have come to the rescue when it comes to the details.
Yes, ma'am. So pretty much the president-elect will say like, hey, can you message this? And, can you get in touch with this group? And, I start sending messages, kind of getting stuff set up along with the president-elect. Because in the past, the president-elect usually handled every aspect of conference. And so one of the things that was set up last year with our current president-elect right now, Christy Sartain, was to help kind of streamline everything and have it delegated to like different aspects of conference to different people on a conference committee. And so kind of as the director, it's been handling my aspects and then helping the president-elect with what she wants to do with.
Pause. I'm curious. Now, next year, it's Faith Huff who is going to be running the conference. Are you still going to be in the same role you are in now?
Yes, ma'am. So the conference director position is a 2-year position that's held on the board. And so, I've got my feet wet next year, and I'll be helping Faith, assisting her with next year's. And so that's something that if I choose to want to do it again, the board will be like, hey, you want to do this again? Sure.
Well, and forgive me, but I talk to a lot of people who have actually shied away from accepting leadership roles in their state organizations because they do not want the burden of planning a state conference. And yet, across the board, it really is a sort of a point of entry. If you want to assume the role of president eventually, you're going to have to organize a state conference. But it sounds like you are someone who would be absolutely vital in ensuring the success of a conference because you've got one more person in on the details.
I would agree, vital with myself, but also with the conference committee that we have, because there are so many different aspects that people, don't understand that is used when putting together a conference, and to have people delegated to certain departments just helps streamline everything. So that if we have a question with tech, hey, go to our tech person. Hey, if we need a vendor question, here's our vendor coordinator. And it really does help and, with the organization of everything. And it's just, I can't thank NC Slam enough for even, for coming up with this and, allowing us to kind of put that sort of stuff together.
Well, and librarians are so detail-oriented anyway. Forgive me, since somebody who's listening might want to replicate this for their own program. Is this an elected position? How did you get it?
So it was one that I was contacted about by the board. They were because I originally had put in for secretary, and, I had lost the election. And so I was contacted by Christy Sartain, and she was like, hey, do you want to be our conference director? It's a new position, and we saw that you were interested. And I was like, yeah, sure, not knowing what it all was entailed. So coming into conference last year, it was literally hey, Heath, follow me around, bring your notebook. And now I have it glued to my hip this year. It's become a staple.
I'm so excited you shared this with us because I'm going to tell you right now, there are groups of people right now who are starting to put together a team to lead their next conference. And having somebody in this particular role would not be hard, and yet it would simplify so many details for other people.
I would agree, but it also helps, especially with the leadership we have. Christy has been so vital and just amazing in how she's helped with the delegating of the position with me. The NC Slammer board has been so welcoming, and being hey, we can help you out, whatever's needed. And I think that has been so beneficial with the organization because me coming in last year was brand new, first conference, everything. Being hey, you're a conference director, you're going to help plan next year's. It's oh my God. Oh, wow. So them being so welcoming, hey, if you have questions, don't hesitate. And just having that open communication and transparency, that's stuff that will move so many organizations forward. And NC Slam has just been, again, so amazing in the group.
Well, and I want other people to consider adding somebody like you to their team because it sounds like you've gotten to be a leader in this organization. And I'm sure that your administrator recognizes that kind of leadership is valuable. And, what an important thing to do in order to contribute to everybody else's experience here at the conference.
Oh, I would agree. It's been nice to go back to school and they're well, so what are you up to coming up? And I'm I'm going to be, organizing the state conference with the conference team and the president. And they're oh, okay. Well, that's going good on your, your performance and stuff. But, our Wayne County team has been really great and supportive and encouraging us to, branch out and to be involved more. Because, with this job here, it was something I've, kind of cast a stone upon the water to see, where would this land, and just took that step after doing the Leadership Academy and went, hey, let's see where this goes. And so it's been a really fun experience.
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So congratulations, Heath. And I know you've put a lot of work into this conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So my name is Heidi Barber. I am an educational technology specialist for Wayne County Public Schools. And essentially what that means is I get to support all of our teachers in the district in implementing educational technology into their curriculum.
I was so lucky because I got to sit in on one of your sessions, and I got to tell you, this is going to be an absolute game changer. And, anytime we teach technology, you give your audience an idea of what they can do in their own spaces, and then they're going to go home and put it to good use in their library spaces. And you're so generous. You're giving us access to your presentation, even though most of our listeners are not here at this conference today. Would you please give listeners an idea of what it is you shared with us today? Because I know it's going to help a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So our presentation today was all about creating an impact dashboard with the focus today on school librarians. And essentially, the purpose is to showcase your stats and to promote that positivity from your library. So we know that media coordinators, librarians, wear a whole lot of different hats, and we want to make sure that we are valuable and we are seen. And Impact Dashboard lets us showcase all of those different things.
Well, and I know that a lot of us do, sort of an infographic, but there's something really fun about this because it populates with data in a way that I've never seen before.
Yep. So an impact dashboard, the way that we set it up is housed completely through Google Suite applications. So utilizing Google Forms to collect data, Google Sheets to organize it, and then Google's Looker Studio to actually make the visual display, the dashboard, which will, you're correct, auto-populate and update every single time that Google form is resubmitted.
Well, and I love this idea. I've heard other people talk about this in theory. I've just never seen it sort of worked out. But give us a little bit of background in the inspiration that led to this.
So James Allen, he is phenomenal, and he is everything that I have learned has come from him. And so he showcased exactly how this can be used for school librarians, exactly what types of question stems they can be asking themselves for data collection, and then he shares online different templates that you can make and take and use for yourself.
Well, and I do like that because you included some, and I'll be honest, it's always interesting because when it comes to showcasing data, we want to make sure it makes us look good, and therefore the key things I'm collecting might be different from you. So would you just give us an idea, what are some of the templates and what kinds of what kind of data are you representing in those infographics?
So I always want to try to keep it positive. So instead of saying how many Chromebook keyboards have I had to fix today, instead I'm looking at how many technology components was I able to successfully get back in classrooms, or how many books were checked out, how many classes came to the media center, how many PLCs did I get to attend. So looking at the impact that I have had in order to best support students and staff.
Well, and the game changer I saw was that you can also tabulate teacher supports, which I think is a much different way than counting up our collaborations. And could you give listeners an idea of the difference? Because when I looked at it, I was like, wait a minute, this is something I could use.
So I think of teacher collaboration at a much larger scale, more time intensive versus teacher supports where, hey, yes, I can show you how to do this quickly in a Google slide, or yeah, let me help you find a resource that will best meet your need today versus that full scale, hey, let's sit down and plan out an entire project together.
I am so grateful. Heidi, you have opened my eyes and you've given me something I'm very excited to try and work on when I get at home. Thank you also for sharing your presentation. You put so much work into those, and I know that it truly does represent a great deal of energy and effort on your time. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference. Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Hi, my name is Alex Cody, and I am a media coordinator in Durham Public Schools.
Wow. So tell us, what does a day look like for you?
I teach 6 classes a day, kindergarten through 5th grade, and I have about an hour and a half combined lunch and planning.
That sounds nice. And I imagine you eat in about 7 minutes and work the rest of it.
Yes, I do.
So I noticed you're a first-time attendee. You must be brand new to this profession. Let's talk a little bit about how this year is going and what are some things that you're hoping to, incorporate into your program.
So this is my second year in a school library. And last year, I think, was a lot about survival. And this year, I want to give my kids more creative outlets because I get to teach, but I also don't have to grade, which is really nice. So I want my kids to have more like free-form creativity, things like that.
You know, I heard that you have a background in audio. Did you see that there's a session in using podcasting with your littles at this conference today?
I did. I don't know sure if I'm going to attend it because I don't know about budget and equipment, but that would be really interesting to start with the kids.
Well, and as with everything, there's always a free opportunity to do this, and librarians are incredibly resourceful. So I know, but you would be able to overcome that technology hurdle that so many of us have. So let me ask you, moving forward, you've spent some time here at this conference. Tell us, what is something that has really helped you succeed in your job, and what those small wins that you have?
Other librarians are the key to like the success I've had so far. I spent a lot of my first year just kind of like figuring things out, and now listening to other school librarians has changed things tremendously and gives me more ideas all the time.
Have a fantastic conference.
Thank you. You too.
Hi, so I am Katie Moose, and I am a librarian at a relatively large high school outside of Charlotte in a fairly suburban area. I have almost 1,700 kids and over 100 staff members, and it's my 12th year in the Media Center, and I am at a high school this year. Our high school also houses our IB program for our district, so I have our IB students, and I have our regular students, so lots of kids doing lots of things. We also have a Marine JROTC, which is we are the only Marine JROTC in our district that we offer. Yes, we have JROTC at all of our schools, but ours is the only Marine Corps affiliated. And so I have been working at the elementary, middle, and high school level throughout my career. So I've loved them all. They're all different. They're all fun at different levels. But yeah.
I need you to back up, because the whole Marine alphabet thing you just talked about, I know listeners are going to be like, nope, don't know what she's talking about. Please tell us, what is the Marine GTC?
Sure. So sorry, JROTC. So our JROTC, yes. So we have most of our JROTCs in my district are affiliated with a different branch of the military. And so ours specifically is affiliated with the Marine Corps. So most of ours are Army-based. So we have different, usually former military personnel who also lead all of our classes and lead all of that. And we have a huge JROTC program. Our kids are involved in a lot. They have rifle team, drill team, go to national competitions, do tons of fundraising. We have a obstacle course actually on our campus that the kids use as training. They have what we would call a mega unit, a big trailer, but not unlike a barrack that if they're going to join the military that they will be in. And they have a big obstacle course, so they go out and do training there on a pretty regular basis. They do tons of stuff. We have a huge Veterans Day program that another high school in our district hosts every year. So most of our JROTC students come and participate. We invite veterans from across our county to come and join. We sadly just lost our oldest veteran, almost 103. He was amazing. He was a friend of my dad's and had worked in our district many years ago. He had to beg to get a telephone at his school. That tells you how long ago it was. He was out in the middle of nowhere. He worked at my previous school and had to beg to get a telephone back in the 50s. So,
Katie, I'm dying to know, because I have never talked to anybody who has a military presence at their school in the form of a junior ROTC program. How has that impacted your library program? I'm just curious.
We have our kids. It definitely gives a lot of leadership to our kids. I see that across the board. Some of those kids, they come visit me frequently, sometimes with a computer issue, but they are making and doing things and promoting things as part of their program. So sometimes they're needing help and support. I manage our website and our social media. So they're asking, can you put these things on for us to share and put out there for everyone? So
have you leaned into any angle of your collection to support kids with an interest in serving in the military?
So we actually we have quite a lot of resources, and the we offer the ASVAB test, which many people, it is technically a personality test, but it's also one that they often use if you are looking to go into the military. So we offer that to all of our students. A lot of them do it. We have a really, strong program, former students who have come back and who have served, they've come, they've spoken at graduation, things like that. So we have a lot of really strong ties, and they do a lot of stuff, perform at our football games and do a lot. So yes.
I love that. Now, I'll be honest. You're presenting at the conference. I shamelessly asked if we could share your presentation. Well, friends, there's going to be a link in the show notes. But would you give us an idea if they were lucky enough to be here in North Carolina today to see you present? Tell us what your presentation is about, and give us some of the high points, because you have generously accepted the shameless request to put this in the show notes.
Sure. So for those of you, as Amy's probably already mentioned and some other guests have already mentioned, our theme this year for conference is Magic Happens Here. So we have themed everything with kind of a magical theme, because I think libraries are magical and they offer so much. So my session was actually called The Only Magic, Leveraging Yourself to Create Library Engagement. And I came up with the title when I was looking and trying to talk about, I knew I was going to talk about engagement opportunities. And I found a quote from Alice Hoffman that said, "Books may well be the only true magic." And I think that is abundantly clear. But like I said to everyone in my session today, I said someone has to share the magic and someone has to bring the magic. And that is us as a librarian. If we're not there to help facilitate in the space and support and engage and connect with the kids, then the magic's lost. So
I am so grateful. Katie, I'm so glad that you stopped me and said, "Hey, I'm here and you're here and let's talk." 'Cause you are one of those people that we regularly engage with on social media. And it's like we already know each other because, oh yeah, I respond to your messaging all the time, and we can engage that way, but still have this face-to-face. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference. You're on the board of directors. Quickly tell us, what do you do?
Sure. So it's a new position that we started this year. I'm the networking director. So we have a couple of different things that fall under that category. Something that was started by our wonderful president-elect, Christy Sartain. She started during the pandemic. We call it Brew Crew. And we have a Friday evening meeting and a Saturday morning meeting twice a month. So one Friday evening meeting every month and one Saturday morning meeting every month. And so it's just an informal PD opportunity. So we chat. I always say sometimes it's very lighthearted. We're talking about what we drink, sharing our mugs, talking about what we're reading. Sometimes we're pulling resources and sharing things. Sometimes we're crying. Sometimes we're laughing. But it's an opportunity. Those of us who are kind of regulars, we have definitely built a family and a community. So we are super close, and we always welcome anyone to come in and join us. So it's always a fun thing. And we do have a PD certificate. So when we do those deep dives, we can offer PD to our supporters. And our book club that we started back in January, that you've had Jennifer Long, who's been on your podcast. Jennifer's awesome. So she hosts our book club. And we pick a book every month and vote on it. We generally choose an adult book. This year, we chose a magical witchy book for October to fit our theme. We started off on a very high note. We read Lessons in Chemistry, and we were lucky enough to get Bonnie Garmis to agree to Skype in with us because we host this all virtually. This was our first in-person session, and we're planning to do it again next year at conference. So I want to tell people you can join us virtually. We meet Saturday mornings once a month. But we plan to do it again in person next year too. But yes, our highlight was Bonnie Garmis. She was only going to stay for about 5 minutes and stayed for an hour and talk to us, and probably would have talked more, but we felt so guilty monopolizing all her time. We, big famous author, series now coming out on Apple TV, all of the things. But so it was great. So we have those opportunities. And then we are looking to revive our mentoring program that we have hosted in the past. I worked in our mentoring program before, and I feel very passionately about supporting our fellow librarians. Some of us, like myself, we weren't teachers before we came into the profession. So it definitely is a learning curve. And some of us, you're going from a high school teacher to an elementary librarian like you did. It's a totally different world. It's totally different. So we are looking and kind of building that to revive that back. But I will tell people that if you would like to join NC SLAMA, even if you do not live here, you can join us. Our membership fee is only $50. And for $50, we offer a ton of PD that is totally virtual. All the things that I've mentioned, we have a winter tune-up that we host in January. Everything's virtual. If you sign up and you don't show up live and in person, you can see all the recordings. We have a summer learning series that we offer every summer. Again, it's all virtual. You can show up and participate live. If not, you'll get all the recordings. And this year, for the first year, we had Librarian Boot Camp inspired by the wonderful Casey Boyd. And we did that as a one-day session, and we plan to bring that back. So if you are looking for more PD and more opportunities to connect with librarians, we would love to have you join us here in North Carolina, even if you don't live here. So,
well, and friends, this is about getting that certificate and turning it into your office. And, oftentimes, and talking to your administration, if they say, yeah, that sounds good. Usually all it takes is a professional looking certificate for you to get that kind of PD. And especially if it is related to what we do every day, what administrator is going to say no? We will definitely put a link in the show notes. Katie Moose, I am so grateful you stopped and are sharing your generous presentation with us as well. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you, Amy. It was so good to see you in person finally.
I am Christine. I am the district lead in North Carolina.
Okay, so what does that mean? You're a district lead, and give us an idea of how many schools you're supporting and how many school librarians are you supporting?
So I currently have 44 schools and 44 school librarians that I support on a daily, hourly, and by minute basis.
Wait, every school's got a library. Every school's got a certified school librarian. Can I ask, has it always been that way, or has this sort of been a work in progress?
So I'm fortunate. We have always had a certified school librarian. It is part of our mission to always have somebody certified in the library at all levels. And we also have an ITF, an instructional technology facilitator, at every school.
That is a win, my goodness. So let me ask you must have a very busy schedule, but your priority is supporting the school librarians in your district, all 44 of them. How do you prioritize what gets done every day? For me, I prioritize who walks through my door. So I'm wondering, how is your day defined when it comes to being a district director?
So really, I put out the fires as they come in, right? As we all do. We all put out those fires as they come in. And then I have a running calendar of the things the big pieces that hop up. And I do Friday notes every Friday to keep our librarians to know what's going on across the district. And then I offer curriculum support every Friday. And then I do site visits that are scheduled out to ensure that they see me in their space and that they have face time. And then we have once a month meetings that are face-to-face that I'm able to cover the substitute for our elementary folks so that they have time to not be an island. They have time to collaborate together, and they have time to really come together to be a team.
Can I ask, what are some things that are consistent across all of your schools? If I can ask, are there certain policies that you have that are consistent so that librarians can be assured that what they're doing in schools is going to be, consistent and applied with fidelity across the entire district?
We do. So I really try to make sure that we align everything each month to our standards, right? So that we do it with our evaluation tool. So we ensure that we're doing our digital citizenship, that we ensure that we're doing author deep dives, and we ensure we're doing genre dives. We do a lot with why genrefication. I think we do a lot right now of do we interfile? Right? I think a lot of it is just having those conversations and having an open space to really come together and talk about it so you don't feel like an island.
I love that. Listen, Christine, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Happy to be here. Thanks for all you do. Hi, my name is Leah Ammons, and I'm the media specialist at New Hope Elementary in Gaston County, North Carolina. And we are a K-5 school on a fixed schedule, and we love our children. They are why we do what we do. And so as a librarian, I would say my big things are move fast, make it fun, and inspire.
And that's what kids go home and tell their parents. Guess what story we read? Guess what we made today? And look, it's in my book bag crumpled up, but I want you to hang it on the fridge. So that's what we do.
What would I be pulling out of my kid's bag if my kid was, going to the school and you were their librarian? Now I've got to know, what are some things that are takeaways, evidence of things that they've done in your school library?
We learned about animals every time they come in kindergarten and first grade. It's an animal. So you might be pulling an axolotl out of their bag that is probably missing an arm, and they'll tell you it'll grow back. And a mantis shrimp that they'll tell you can break through glass at the school. So really fun things that they like to tell their parents. Did you know that a wombat poops squares? Yes, all of these things. And so we make it fun, and they all want a wombat book. So that's what I do.
So I see you accomplishing so much here, because what you're doing is promoting this, the collection that you have, because obviously you're using the content that you have on your shelves, so you're going to be driving interest, you're going to get kids who want to read these books, but you're also empowering students with information, because for kids, especially this young, information is currency. And when they get to go home and show the adults in their lives something, it empowers them.
It absolutely does. And they love it. And they want to come back. And they tell their teacher, my favorite special is library. And if it's not library, I tell them their favorite special is definitely library.
Now, do your students get to ask which animal they're going to learn about next? Or do you have a way to get some of these fun facts out to your students? What are some of the resources you use? Because obviously you're going to have to educate yourself about these animals first.
Right. Nat Geo and fun things and questions that they ask from Mike. Do you know about this? And so they asked me about an axolotl. Do you have any axolotl books? And I was like, I can't even spell that. So let's find one. And so did.
I love that you are willing to be vulnerable with your students, because that demonstrates that you feel that you can do that in front of your students and not be judged.
Yes, I tell them all the time, I swing and I miss. And this lesson was one of those. Or you know what? You got to try new things. If it doesn't work, what can we do better? And they'll tell me very honestly.
I hope your school appreciates you. You sound amazing. I would love if my kids could have been in your school when they were growing up. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference.
Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm in New York, and I'm at Northwest Cabarrus Middle School in Cabarrus County, North Carolina. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade darlings. They are wonderful, and anybody who thinks that middle school is weird or crazy, you're absolutely right, but they're totally my brand of weird and crazy, so I adore them.
There are some listeners for whom this strikes fear in their hearts, and they've just found out they're going to be working with middle schoolers, and they are just dread. Tell us, what are some home runs with your middle schoolers? Because they can be a real tough audience.
They are. I would say the thing you need to remember is to always be transparent with them, because if you lie, they're going to see right through you. So just be yourself. Also, be their favorite aunt. Be the person that they want to come and hang out with, and then you can send them back to mom in the classroom when they start being a little squirrely or they start acting out, as middle schoolers sometimes will. You want to be their favorite aunt. You want to welcome them in. You want to include them in your space, invite them to be a part of the media center. I would say, too, if you can genrefy your space, that makes it really easy for kids to find the books that they love and build relationships with everyone and then walk through your doors. Just be their advocate in the space, be their advocate in the classroom with their parents, with the admin team. Let them know that you're in their corner fighting for them to get them what they need to be successful.
Well, and what I love about this is it really does set them up for success, because they really can't fail when they come to you.
They better not fail, because I'm going to be cheering them on the whole way.
I hope you have a fantastic conference, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for being here. It was a pleasure to meet you.
My name is Sharon Swanke, and I work at Montgomery Central High School in Troy, North Carolina.
Now, forgive me, Sharon, because, I've been interviewing a lot of very green school librarians, people who are brand new out of the chute. And forgive me, but you, like you, a seasoned school librarian with a few years under my belt. Let me know, what is it that helps you stay in this profession despite all the challenges and obstacles that we face on an hourly basis?
we do have some obstacles. I think the thing that keeps me here is my love of our students. And every time I think that I'm losing my touch, because sometimes I do feel like, oh my God, I'm so old. Anziano, as the Italians would say. I'm ancient now. Just this week, I had a student come. He wanted to interview me about our manga collection. And at the end of the interview, I said to him, I worry sometimes that I'm losing connection to you guys. And he said, oh no, Miss Swanky. He said, you make the library, and you are the heart of the school, and you are the reason we're all here at lunchtime. And I was like, I had no idea. I had no idea that it was a me thing, but sometimes it's a me thing. And I just love it. I love everything about my job.
But, those things don't happen accidentally. I mean, you've definitely worked hard to create a culture of acceptance and created a space where the students definitely feel welcome.
I do. We have lots of books in Spanish so that my students who are coming in who are still monolingual are able to come in and see that they're welcomed. And, of course, I try to use my Spanish once in a while, and then they just laugh at me. I have kind of a flat accent, unfortunately. And then I also talk to our students about life in general and how everything we learn contributes to what we're able to bring to the table. Everything we learn, whether it's learning through the library, whether it's learning in the classroom, whether it's learning on the football field. All of those things, all of those little lessons you're getting, those little life lessons, they are all keeping you and teaching you how you're going to survive when you're a little bit older.
Well, and don't you agree it's really vitally important to be vulnerable with our students? I mean, I don't know if many educators are willing to do that.
But we are vulnerable. All of us are we have a student who's in ICU right now, and he had an automobile accident last week, and I can't tell you how much our school is absorbed in making sure that Charming Charlie is going to come out of it.
Sharon, I'm so grateful you're here today. I hope you have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm presenting tomorrow for my first presentation, and watching you today was a great exemplar, and I was like, I can do that too.
So wait, what's your session on? Tell us.
So we're going to learn about 10-minute games in the library, because not everybody has a long hour to play Monopoly. And so some of the games we're going to be introducing include things like Itsy and Buildsy and Tensy, all of which can take place in about 5 minutes. And Itsy, by the way, makes you read the card loud. How many students do we ever hear that say, oh, I don't want to read out loud, just pass me over, Miss Swanky? Well, guess what? When you're playing Itsy, you can't be passed over. The minute you win your hand, you have to read the next card. And it's on you. And I have seen my bilingual students doing this. I have seen them practicing their English with this. It is so exciting.
I have to ask, would you be kind enough to share with us your presentation? We could put a link in the show notes.
I would love to.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to meet you.
Well, my name is Rebecca Shepard, and I work for the Montgomery County School System in North Carolina. And I'm currently a digital learning coach, but I have 26 years experience as a school librarian. So I've worked in juvenile training schools. I've worked at the elementary level. Now I work at the district level.
And I have to ask, you were in a program that supports juvenile offenders, correct?
That's correct. That's where I started my career. I was there for 7 years.
Okay, so inquiring minds are going to want to know, how do you feel your program supporting these students is perhaps different from somebody working what we would consider a more typical school setting?
It was very challenging. We had to be very careful with the types of materials we offered them to read. We had to be careful with hardback books because they could have been turned into weapons. So you have to be very cognizant of purchasing not only the content, but also the format. You have to be able to understand that these children, and I do refer to them as children, even though they could seriously harm you. They were there on adult charges. They are coming from a place where most of our students do not come from. They've encountered things, lots of trauma in their lives, and it was very interesting. I learned a lot of things there that I could carry on to even the elementary librarianship. I always wondered, how did students get to this place? How did you get a 16-year-old who could only read at a first grade level? What happened in that time period? And now seeing both sides of the spectrum between the juvenile justice world and the elementary world, and it's still happening today.
So I'm super curious, because you're dealing with, in this case, you're dealing with teenagers, but for whom their reading abilities might have been compromised over their young lives. How do you build a collection which is going to provide them with some sort of interest, but not lose them because the content is perhaps too young?
That was one of the challenges that we faced. It was very difficult. This was back in the 90s. Very difficult to find materials at that time that were what we call high-low materials, high interest and low reading level. But now we have more tools to be able to use to reach those readers. But if you have things in the library that students want to read and desire to read that are of high interest to them, they will find a way to read it. I love the fact that we have so many digital options now that will read books to students, even though their reading ability may not allow them to read as independently as we would like. But back in the 90s, we didn't have that. That really wasn't an option unless you purchased an audiobook, they were very expensive back then. So I'm happy to see some changes that way. And it was challenging.
So I'm going to ask the question, what measures were taken to make sure that you were safe in the workplace?
One of the things we had to do was count pencils out and count pencils back in. We were not allowed to have scissors out around students unless they were safety scissors with the scissor blade inlaid into plastic. We were not allowed to use pens. We had to keep pens in our pocket. You couldn't have any paper clips laying around. We did have a student one time who had filched enough of the jumbo paper clips, and he actually made a knife out of those. Those students are so creative, and they're so hands-on a lot of times, and that was never really tapped in some instances. If it could have just been told correctly, like the STEM programs that are around now, they did not exist in the 90s. That wasn't even a thing. I just think of the number of students that we could have reached, through that method, teaching them a skill, maybe turning that into a career, and giving them something to do with their hands, whereas academically they may not have been as successful, but hands-on they would have been.
And that is a request to anybody who's listening in right now, working with students who are in a juvenile detention situation. I would love to be able to explore this more as somebody who's currently working in this type of situation. But, I got to ask you, Rebecca, you're in a much different place right now. You've been working with, this is, you and I are vintage because we're sort of seasoned educators. But tell me, what are you presently doing?
Currently, I'm a digital learning coach, which is sort of like an instructional technology facilitator in our district. There are only 2 of us, and we serve 11 schools.
So how are you helping your librarians, and how do you decide what would be most helpful when you do go and support those school librarians?
Well, in our district, they have made the choice not to replace school librarians as they have retired or moved on to other positions. We have everyone except for my colleague at the high school is paraprofessional part-time. So it's very difficult when you're dealing with a constant turnover of employees. Like, we currently hold monthly meetings with them to try to give them resources for lessons they can do. We send them lesson plans. We, ask them what they need support with in their school. We do some behavior management training a little bit, digital tools, how to operate the Destiny circulation program, everything, just anything that we can possibly do.
Rebecca, I'm so grateful you stopped by to talk with us. I hope you have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you. I hope you do as well.
My name is Marsha Wingard, and I am a library media coordinator at Grace Christian School in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I have been serving this year as the conference technology coordinator for NC Slam-On.
Okay, so the conference technology coordinator, a job I would not be volunteering for, but if there are listeners who are tuning in, would you give them a sense of what kinds of things you did to make this weekend possible?
Well, I would admit, I was nervous when they first asked me to be conference technology, because I'm like, oh, all the conference technology things that can go wrong. But my role has been to be the liaison between the AD company that's servicing the convention or the conference and the presenters. So helping them know what they needed to have prepared from a technology standpoint, what they need to bring with them, what kind of adapters they want to have when they're presenting, getting the Sched up and running, which is the app that we use to put out the schedule for all the presenters and attendees, so helping to set that up. And then just being a part of the planning team with our director and conference director and the other people who helped put the conference together.
So I have to ask, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who is going to be integral to the success of their state organization's conference when it comes to technology?
Just get to know the people involved. Reach out to whoever is going to be providing technology service at the conference. Usually whatever convention center you're working with has an AD company that you're working with, or you're sending out a request for proposal and getting those back. So making those contacts with the people who are going to be on the ground at the conference, getting their phone numbers, asking them what they recommend presenters have, what they've learned from the past. That was really helpful. I talked with the AD company before the conference and asked, okay, what exactly are you providing for every presenter? What do they need to have? And just having that, being able to relay that information to the presenters was really helpful.
I noticed that you have a lot of concurrent sessions going on, and I think that speaks to all the different generous presenters who are coming to your conference this weekend. But, what do you do, to ease any concerns that your presenters might have or make sure that they're going to feel supported when they come, when it comes in terms of technology?
Well, we have, so I'm the conference technology coordinator, but I also have a team of people that I worked with. We started with 4 people on our team and unfortunately had 2 people with injuries and illnesses this week who weren't able to come. So it was just me and my colleague, Laura Olam, and the 2 of us kind of divided the sessions between us. And so before each session time, we would go into each room and just touch base with the presenter and say, are you able to connect? Do you know how to use the mic? Do you have any questions? Is everything working? And then our AD company has been fantastic because they had their representatives around. And so, in some cases, we needed to get a mic fixed. In one session, for her laptop is older, and she could not get the HDMI to work. Even the AV guy with all of his different dongles couldn't get the connection to work. And I was like, tell you what, you use Google Slides, share it with me. Here's my laptop. Let's plug in. We're good to go. Let's run. So, but just touching base with the presenters beforehand was a good thing. And it was fun because then I also got to meet all the different people that were presenting. So,
Marsha, I'm so grateful you decided to share with us today. I hope that you are celebrating all the hard work that you've done, and you look forward to having a little free time coming up this next week.
I do. It's been a really great team. I've enjoyed being part of the whole planning team, and I felt like all of the different positions from a vendor coordinator to the doing promotions, everyone is just well suited, and it's been a great team. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Milton. I'm a media coordinator from Cumberland County. However, I've been a media coordinator for 16 years, but I recently transitioned to a new role, but I am still the treasurer of NC Slam-On. So I am here in that role, but I am a SparkLab leader.
Okay, so friends, you're going to definitely want to check out the link in the show notes, but do let us know what it is that you do, because this is something that if somebody wanted to replicate this, we're going to be able to provide them with some information on how to move forward with that. But please tell me, what is involved with being a SparkLab leader?
So we've created a state-of-the-art lab facility for students to be able to work collaboratively together on projects. And SparkLab is completely project-based. So the way that it works is we have a catalog of units, and students can pick from any of the units, any ones they want, 8 of those to complete and earn a computer science credit.
Wow. So I'm curious, you work in multiple buildings, and how often do you meet with these students who are participating in this program?
So we actually serve 18 high schools. We have 16 of those 18 high schools represented in SparkLab at the moment. And I do travel around. Our units can be on demand. Some units are live where they attend class, and some are experiences where I take them on field trips and we go do cool things. But I work with the students either in person or virtually, depending on how it fits their schedule. We meet at least once a month to talk about their progress. Usually in the beginning when we're onboarding, it's every 2 weeks. But once they're familiar and comfortable with the program, we move to a monthly basis.
So I'm curious because I know there are a lot of people who are listening right now who are school librarians, but who would consider doing something that's sort of tangentially related. Would you give us an idea of how being a school librarian has sort of made this transition into being involved with the SparkLab program? How has this been made easier because you're a school librarian?
So it started from, we do lessons in the library, and they are kind of bite-sized or project-based because we don't get those kids all the time. So I really got interested in project-based learning, and that's kind of how I ended up developing more and more of that kind of platform. And so when they created this role, they kind of came to me and said, we think this was kind of tailor-made for you because you do love technology and incorporating it into lessons. I took a look at the job description and said, yes, I'm on board, but I'm going to have to find a librarian to come and be at our school because I'm not going to be able to live with myself. The library does not maintain. And actually, we found the most wonderful librarian, Christy Sartain, who is our NC SLAMA president.
Yes, you did. Now, one more thing, though. How long did it take for your district to make this initiative a reality for the students that you support? Because I know sometimes these ideas take a long time before they materialize.
So it started about 2 years ago. It was an initiative of a conglomeration of superintendents who try and innovate new educational opportunities. And so a year ago, they formed a group and they began taking students on experiences and field trips, and they began doing studies about how they wanted to structure this. This SparkLab actually launched July 1st of this year.
Wow. That's amazing. So here you are in its inaugural year, and all eyes are on you, making sure that it's a success.
Yes, absolutely. Enrollment has been a big push in the beginning because this is totally student-oriented and student-led. So we're up to about 160 enrolled so far, which our max is 220. So I'm really pleased with that. We've still got a few schools left to visit. So I'm hoping we're going to hit that cap soon. I'm already pushing to raise the cap, but the question they keep asking me is, well, how many students will it take before we have to hire another you? So I was like, well, that's a good problem to have.
It certainly is. I hope you have a great rest of the conference. I know that you worked really hard to make this happen.
Thank you so much. I think all the skills that librarians have are unique to their building. We have to problem solve. We have to be team leaders. And that's what really brings us into all these other roles. Because every time I meet someone, I'm like, she's so competent and wonderful and organized. And we get to talking and I'm like, oh, you were a school librarian.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Timothy Meadows. I'm from Hope County Schools, North Carolina. And how I got to this conference is I am coming out of CTE, and I'm first-year librarian. CTE is Career Technical Education. So what I had previous life is I have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and they're coming and they're going to learn one day you're going to get a job. And now transferring over to Media Center, I got to figure out how do I keep that still going and encourage now the reading part. So that's my biggest thing is, hey, here's a Chromebook, fix it. They were already coming to me for that. And now I got to figure out how to increase the literacy component.
Well, now I'm curious to know, how has your experience working in CTE, how do you think that that's going to impact what your, media center is going to look like, given that you have this incredibly unique set of background and your skills in CTE?
So I know there's a big push of bringing into the maker spaces and the STEM. And one of the conferences or here at the conference we had, how do we increase the engineering design process and relate it to a book that they're reading? So that opened up my eyes of like, okay, cool. I can just take what I just had in my classroom and we're going to try to make this makerspace section and bring in that engineering design process, that skill set I already have. Or as the kids have broken Chromebooks and they're like, hey, want to actually see how this Chromebook works? So I can take photos and be like, share, like, because kid was like, hey, what's this? Why can't I touch the screen? Because this is what's behind that bezel. So,
well, and I have to say that for many of my friends and I, when we are faced with the expectation that we are going to not only run a makerspace, but we're going to actually create a makerspace, this is a pretty big hurdle because for some of us, we are well outside of our comfort zone. So speak a little to how you've been able to make that transition, because obviously you don't have any sort of concerns about tackling technology when it comes to all the CTE background. You know, friends, we talk about this, no experience is ever wasted.
Up in Ohio, before I moved down here to North Carolina, we had a small group of makers. So I got involved into like that little subgroup with the 3D printers. And so I kind of naturally had that and background with my other school up north. And now coming here and they're like, we're now just starting to introduce the idea of these creative spaces. For those that are, kind of get shy about it, it's trying to figure out, also reaching out, who in my network can I fall back to? I met a lady that we had just touched base with here at the conference, and she's like, let me get your email. And she wrote, my makerspace friend. So I'm expecting to hear from her as, she's coming in to, like, hey, the guy with the beard knew stuff about that. I'm going to reach out to him. So as we build this, your Libraries United, getting to know people and networking is going to be, like you mentioned, it's the solo, but we got to be all this and together.
Well, and I think that we think no experience is ever wasted. You're building those networks, and the networks that you make here, it could be a 5-minute conversation that all of a sudden blossoms into this regular correspondence that you have with somebody else. One thing I can't let you go, I know that CTE is the beneficiary of a lot of, is it federal funding or state funding? But let's speak to the fact that you're coming from a program with guaranteed funding and moving into one that sometimes is a little conditional in its funding. So could you talk a little bit about that?
CTE is a federally funded program. My experience as a classroom teacher, I was still very young. I'm still young into the education, so I didn't really access a lot of that pool. But now, like hearing from my coworkers, they're like, yeah, we don't have funds. And understanding like, wait a minute, how do we have not a budget? And I was asking actually at lunch, how do I take my books? Where are the supplies? Where do we get these things? Yeah. And they're like, we do. And somehow, like we get the packing tape and keep it rolling, or we just order a new book when we get funds. So it's kind of that whole budget side is a new light to me of, how do I order supplies instead of they were just showing up at my door with CTE, like, oh, hey, we bought new stuff. Here you go.
Listen, I am so glad that you had an opportunity to come here, start to build those important connections that are going to help you get through these next couple of years. And I have no doubt that you're going to be incredibly successful because you've already demonstrated willingness to take some time out of your day to invest in yourself. I hope you have a great rest of the school year, Timothy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everything you've done so far, and go Bucks.
My name is Natalie Grady. I'm a school library media specialist in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I am fortunate enough to spend my day with kindergarten through fifth graders, instilling in them a love of reading and opening their minds to new authors and experiences.
I'm so grateful that you offered to be on the show today because you did something not everybody does. You put together a presentation. You're all done with your presentation. Congratulations. Would you tell us what you shared with your audience today?
Yes. So I shared the magic of genrefying at elementary school library.
And so what we did was we took all of the picture books in our collection, and instead of sorting them traditionally by author's last name, we sorted them into bins and buckets by series or author or topic, so that it empowers the students to be more independent in finding their books and exploring things that they might not otherwise have found.
I'm so curious. Would you give us an idea? What were some of the categories that you knew you were going to do with your genrefying? I assume princess is one of them. Unicorns might be another. But can you give us an idea, if we walk through your library right now, what kinds of bins would we see to help with it, engage with our student access there and increase their success in finding books?
So we have everything from families, such as grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters. We have books a bit about courage, one about making good choices, because they all need a little help in that area. And then we have series and characters such as Pete the Cat, Splat the Cat, Magic School Bus.
So I would be curious to know, listeners would want to know, when you made this commitment, first of all, how long did it take you start to finish, and what kind of investment did it require?
Time-wise, I spent about 4 days of my summer last year working on it, and the only supplies that it required of me was the bins that I was going to use to actually put the bonus into, and then the materials to print the signage that I put on the front. So it was very low cost when I had book fair funds that I was able to use for my bins.
I'll ask the question because I know somebody wants to know this. Did you then change their locations in the catalog?
I put them into sub-locations. So all of the bins have a number on them, and those are listed along with the topic as a sub-location.
I love that. And would you be so kind? Would you share with us your presentation? And very few of us got to come to this conference, relatively speaking, in our listening audience. Would you share what you put together with listeners today?
Yes.
I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference. You can now relax. You've done your presentation. And I'm so grateful you decided to share with us today.
Okay. Thank you so much.
My name is Melissa Hogg. I am a school librarian at a downtown school in Greensboro, North Carolina. We have pre-K through 5 kids, and I get to see all of them every week.
That's fantastic. Programming is something we're always looking to spice up what we do, to generate that excitement when kids come to our library. Would you mind sharing with us some of the things that you do that other librarians listening and tuning in right now could replicate in their space?
So I work in a Title I school from kids from projects in downtown Greensboro. So when I heard Donald Miller talk about a book desert, which a lot of us know what a food desert is, but the idea of a book desert, our kids don't have books in their houses. So 3 times a year, I hide dinosaurs for the little ones, I hide snowmen for 2nd and 3rd grade, and I hide donut trucks for 4th and 5th grade. And when they find it around the school, they bring it in and they get a free book. I buy them through my Scholastic money and donations. So they're gently used sometimes, and sometimes they're brand new, but they love the idea of coming and choosing their own. It is free choice of anything, and that's a big thing for me, is to have the choice of what they're reading.
I love this. So play this out for me. So is this a little stuffed animal? It's a little message. What would it look like if I was going out and looking for these clues in the school?
Yeah. So the dinosaurs are like toy dinosaurs, like you get in a tube from Amazon, Michaels, any of that. The snowmen are actually about 2 inches. They're ornaments, because that was the smallest thing I could find in a bulk to do it. And then donut trucks from Oriental Trading. Got the good little guys that they can roll, and I tell them, do not stop reading. Reading can lead you to adventures. And then snowmen are Snow Much Fun, Snow Many Books. And then the Dino-Vember is for November for the pre-K and 1st grade. So they are total dino crazy.
Oh my God, that's adorable.
And I have shirts to go with every month.
So wait, you dress for the theme.
I have a t-shirt. I have several dino t-shirts, and then I have snow t-shirts, and I just started the donut truck one, because we did eggs before. Did not work out well. We had to make a change.
Melissa, thank you so much for sharing today. I know that there are listeners tuning in right now who are going to give that a try.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Ann Verost. I work at a very Title I, very large elementary school. I've been there for 8.5 years. And my favorite thing that I've done is really promoted when I got there. The average age was 1992. There were still books that had stamped on inside the book 1966 that were still on the shelves being checked out. And so books were very important to me. So I set up a dream of mine, which so far I've been able to maintain, which is one book per child per year. So whatever our student enrollment was, whether it was 751 or 635, big elementary school, I try to get that many books in the library.
Wow. I mean, that is really ambitious. So let me ask you, do you feel that you have the kind of funding to be able to support this, or have you had to be clever?
Both. One of my first semesters, I was still getting my master's degree, and I did a budget problem, and I didn't turn it in until like the day of the final, and they were like, I'm not even going to grade it. You get a 50. So I got a B in the course, but I showed that same budget to my principal, and I got $15,000. So I was able to prove that this was what we needed. And I have done constant advocating for money. This year is the first year in 9 years I have zero budget. I've already gone on and done donors' choose, trying to get grants. I've also been known to do like church collections and then if it's not a hardback or appropriate, take it to Edward McKay, turn it in, and buy things my library needs. So like if I'm missing 5 in Harry Potter, I'll buy that series 5 number, anything. My kid's closet keeps getting less books.
But, like librarians are known to do, we are just going to find solutions, and we have to be clever about it. And sometimes it requires us, thinking outside the box.
Yes, a lot of our big books that we're not using anymore because everybody's projecting their books, I'm taking those in, trying to get money for those so that I can then use that money to get books for the kids with.
I think your school is so lucky to have you, and I'm so grateful that you decided to share this little tidbit with everybody because it's admirable. I mean, that really does create a goal that all of us would want to make sure we reach every year.
Yes, one book per child per year. That is my goal, and it has really helped.
I am so grateful. Thank you so much, Anne. Have a great rest of the conference.
Thank you.
My name is Hallie Piles. I am a middle school media specialist at Orange Middle School in Hillsborough, North Carolina. And I hopefully foster a love of reading and make kids feel like they're safe in the library.
I just in meeting you just now, you have an interesting origin story, and I've not heard many people with this journey. So I'd love to hear what it is that brought you into the library or the media center. What did that look like?
So I've been a reader since as long as I can remember. I remember reading Hop on Pop on my dad's lap when I was 4. And I was a 6th grade science teacher, but we had Drop Everything and Read Day for the whole school. And I had my students' parents asking, what are you doing? My kids are coming home and they're begging for me to take them to the library and to bookstores so that they can read Hunger Games and Twilight. And I had just been modeling reading for them and then telling them what I was reading in a way that made them want to read the story too. And then I happened to be sitting on a plane to go home to Michigan, and I sat next to a professor who was a professor at a University of Texas, I believe. His daughter was going to tour Michigan State, and he said to me, you should be a librarian. And it just kind of ticks this box in my head, like that's a way where I can still love working with kids, but I can reach more kids than just my classroom of 25.
Wow. And, to think, the fact is your school made it a priority to have Drop Everything and Read. Can you back up a little bit? Because I know not everybody has successfully been able to get their schools to adopt a program like that, because apparently every single second matters in the classroom, which we all know that if each classroom gave up 4 minutes of their day, we could have a very successful Drop Everything and Read program. How did this work? And can you give us a little idea of what was it that convinced your staff that this was an important investment?
This was when I was at South Davie Middle School in Davie County, North Carolina. So shout out to them for promoting reading. We had different groups every day with a small group where we were supposed to build relationships. So They had all sorts of different lessons planned for us on Monday through Friday, but on Tuesday it was Drop Everything and Read Day. And we were expected as teachers to model the love of reading and to be reading along with them.
Wow, I am so grateful you shared that with us. Now, let me ask, because, everybody comes to the conference for a different reason. Can you let us know what is something that you're excited to implement when you get home? What is something that you learned and maybe you say, that's something I'm going to try when I get back to school?
I went to a session about bringing books that have topics like ADHD, anxiety, Tourette's syndrome, and they were Own Voices authors. And I really tried to make sure that my library mirrors my student population and that they're able to see themselves on the shelves. And so anytime I hear this is a great book list curated by Own Voice authors, I want a hold of that because I want to give it to my students so that they know that the library is a place where they can find themselves.
Sounds like a grant you need to write. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the conference, and thank you so much, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you. It's been wonderful to speak to you, and I'm glad that I was able to hear your keynote address.
Okay, my name is Gabriel Grania. I'm the librarian at Smith Middle School in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And I'm really excited because my library is completely driven by what the students want, like literally from the books I buy to how I genrefied to the fact that we do these little programs, that it's all based on what the kids want or what I see them doing, and so I bring that in. And what's really cool about this year is, I've got my mojo back. I went to NCAT this last summer, this really cool thing we have in North Carolina. And I met some fabulous librarians. We all got together, and we're still keeping in touch, and we're still happy that fire is still lit. And so I'm using my work with them, plus what I'm observing my students to do to make this an absolutely magical, unforgettable year in my library.
Wow, so it sounds like it's very student-driven. Can you give listeners an idea of what are some of the things, and how do you solicit those ideas from your students to make sure that you are using the programs and driving what they want in your own programming?
So I can give two quick examples. We genrefied. That was something I fought against for years, but when the 8th graders keep coming up to you and saying, where's your mystery section? And there's no mystery section, put in a mystery section. And so we did that. I had student help this summer. Actually, they showed up on their summer breaks. We genrefied, and now as they're finding books that maybe should be in a different genre, I put it out, we get some feedback, and we move it to the new genre. Whatever work it takes, we do it because that's what the kids need. And the second thing is, I had 2 kids this year who said, I don't really think about the library too much or come in here for my advisory, blah. But what they ended up liking was I made paper footballs for them, and they liked that. And I was like, what if we did a paper football tournament in the library for the Super Bowl? And they said, yes, we'll come. Sign me up right now. I signed them up. I started the sign-up sheet because of those 2 guys, and now we're going to do a paper football tournament in February.
Well, and I have to imagine you could expand that to other types of tournaments where you could bring your students in.
Yes, definitely lots of tournament ideas. They saw that I have Spheros, and we're going to do a Sphero Battle Arena again. We did it 2 years ago where they make cardboard armor for the Spheros. Other like reading-based tournaments, art-based challenges, what have you. Whatever they're doing in the space, I'll figure out how to bring more people in around that thing.
You mentioned advisory. Do you have an advisory, or are you part of that program at all?
So we have, it's like a homeroom sort of thing. And so I get 15 students, and they're all in the AVID program. We have an AVID mixed grade advisory. And because I'm one of the AVID people in my building, I'm one of its biggest fans. I'm one of its biggest implementers. I volunteered to take that on. And it's been great because I've got 6th through 8th graders all interacting. And I'm just getting great library ideas from them. So I sort of use them as a nice little test group as well.
So for listeners who are tuning in going, what's AVID? Would you give us a little just sort of what is AVID so that they have a better understanding?
So it stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And it's a sort of college prep program that gets those kids who maybe are making like C's, maybe like just barely sort of passing, giving them the skills that they need that they may not have, to get them into either, if not to get them to think about college, but to get them to think beyond high school. Like, what are you going to do next? So getting them prepared for a strong future. And that's what we do.
And, friends, I'm going to ask Gabriel if he's going to send me a link, because then we'll put that in the show notes. Because, if you don't have something like that in your state, maybe this is something that you could look to implement.
Absolutely, yeah. AVID is all over the U.S. I went to a great conference there in Denver for this last summer. And they're always looking to expand, so it's a great program.
Well, Gabriel, you're here learning from school librarians, which is, in my opinion, the best way to learn. What is something that you're excited about taking back to your school?
I'm really excited, actually, about digging back into a tool I haven't used in a while, which is Flip. Really great colleague of mine that I met at NCAP this summer, Marley Boyd, did a great presentation on it for elementary school, but I found the nuggets that work for middle school, and I'm really excited about bringing that back because it's been a while, and I think the kids, they always want to share their voice, and what a great way to do it.
I can't imagine. Your students are so incredibly lucky. I am grateful that you stopped and talked with us today. Gabriel, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes, my name is Michelle Bost. I work at Cuthbertson Middle School, and I serve grades 6 through 8 in a pretty affluent area.
Wonderful. So I'm curious to know a little bit about your digital collections because you have been very clever in a way that I think other people would benefit from the types of things that you're doing in your space.
Yes, I've been using the digital collections for a while now for a variety of things, and it's basically I curate a list of books based around a certain topic or a certain need or request a teacher make. And I had a group of students in my school, and I felt like they had a need for a certain type of book, and they were LGBTQ students. And I do have those books in my media center that are middle school appropriate, and they're housed in various genre sections. My collection is genrefied. So I took those titles, I developed a digital collection that the students can access on the computer so they can find these materials and know that they matter, and I have books for them.
I love this workaround because you have recognized that you need to support all of your students, and you found a way to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love all kids because they're themselves, and I want them to be themselves.
Well, and you teach middle school.
I do.
And I'd love to know, can you give us some home runs?
I think middle school kids, more than anything else, generally speaking, need to be seen. And they need to be able to see themselves in a book. And they need to know that they can be who they are and be comfortable being who they are. And if I'm going to have all students seeing themselves through the books that I offer to them, I need to make digital collections for them. Home runs when kids call the library their safe space. And they do a lot. And it's not just the group of students I was referring to. It's a lot of different kids because I try to reach all groups from all walks of life, so to speak.
Wow. And they're so lucky to have you as a school librarian. You know, we're at this conference. We're surrounded by all these amazing people who are inspiring ideas in our spaces. What's something that you're excited about going home and implementing in your space?
I'm excited about all the new titles that I gathered because I haven't done my book order this year yet. And I'm very excited to be able to add all of these exciting new titles to my collection that are going to reach even more students so that they're able to see themselves.
I am so glad you shared this with us today. Thank you so much. Your students must be so excited when you come back and you're like, look what I got.
They are. I love them. I love them so much. And it's really about them at the end of the day.
Have a great conference.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Quanta Brown, and I am a media specialist at Rocky Mount Middle School in Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
I love it. So I'm so excited because you started to tell me about newsletters you sent home to the families. And when I hear newsletters, I don't think anybody gets real fired up about them. But it sounds like you've got a way of getting people's attention.
Yes, ma'am. So each month I send out a newsletter at the beginning of the month to my students via email. In that newsletter, of course, I put school dates, what's going on around. I also put in valuable information about what's going on in the media world, technology world. So I also ask trivia questions in my newsletter so I can keep my students very engaged. And I give them an opportunity and a chance to win some great prizes at the end of the month.
Okay, so this blows me away. Tell us about some of the prizes that you've made available to your students, because I would read a newsletter if I had something like this to look forward to.
So I have given out gift cards from Target, the movies, any food places, Chick-fil-A. The kiddos love Chick-fil-A. So anything to eat. even Visa gift cards. When it comes to the holidays, that's when I do those. And they're like, Miss Brown, we love it. We love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You know, I've got to imagine, the fact that people are reading your newsletter has to help your program considerably. This seems to me like, some people would say, no, I would use my budget differently. But how do you balance this? How do you justify this?
So actually, the templates and news plates were given to me, to use. So I take this and I'm like, okay, hey, anything given to me free, let's turn it around and make it positive. I'm in a Title I school, so therefore, any free resources I'm going to use to make myself excel and help my students excel.
So let me ask you, I appreciate Title I means that you're eligible for a lot of funding because it is going to hopefully reach its intended audience. It sounds like you have found things that speak to your families and will motivate them to be more interested in your program.
Yes, ma'am. I believe in serving the community and finding out what the community needs from the students and also going out to those stakeholders.
So I'm curious, what kinds of things are really exciting your students when it comes to reading in your space?
Oh, man. So for one, they love the furniture in the media center, okay? I have to tell them, stop rolling around in the chair, read the book so, you don't hurt yourself. But it's a very welcoming environment. And so when they have downtime, the days that they can come in and check out books, I just want to make sure that they stay in, they read, and then that's when I kick them out.
It sounds like you have a busy, busy space.
I do. Sometimes I have to tell myself to sit down.
But you truly a sign you're doing something right. I am so grateful you're here. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you sharing everything with listeners today.
Thank you, and I'm very blessed that I got a chance to meet you as well.
Have a great one.
You too.
Hi, I'm Brian Whitson, digital teaching and learning consultant with the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. And so I support librarians all across the state. I don't have a specific space, but I support our librarians in various ways and connect them with resources.
That's incredible. Wow. I've not met anybody like you. So can I ask how long you've had this position?
I've been in it just over 2 years, and it's really great because I get to support a region, but we also support across the state, and we leverage our expertise and help to create networks that are powerful and transformative for our school librarians and media coordinators.
What kinds of things are motivating? How do you prioritize what you're going to do to support the people in your area?
A lot of times, taking the time to interact and listen to our school librarians and what it is that they really need. I love working with school-level librarians because they're usually very forthcoming when I have one-on-one conversations and beginning to think about the needs that I receive and collecting them in a way that I can categorize them based on how often they come up or maybe what resources we have at the state level that I can dispense out to assist them.
So now, friends, we had a tandem, a dynamic duo giving this session today. Brian, let me hear about your partner in crime. Please introduce yourself. Tell us about your library.
So my name is Chauncey, and I'm the librarian at Ben L. Smith High School in Fraserburgh, North Carolina, and we are a Title I high school.
So I'm really curious, can you give us a little bit of an idea of your session that you offered today and what inspired it?
It was a session on self-help, and it was to encourage the media coordinators to take the information that we gave to go back and help their teachers because we had a lot of burnout, and we want to encourage our teachers to stay, and I think we can help.
Well, and I love this because it's very social and emotional learning, but your target audience are your teachers. Am I correct that many of the things you're doing could benefit not only school librarians, but the teachers that they also work with in their schools?
Yes, it could, and many of the things can be taken down to the children, too.
So give me an idea. Let's talk about the stations. This was a very engaging sort of, your audience wasn't a sit and get. It was not a sit and get. It was engaging and hands-on. So give us an idea. Tell us about the stations that you created.
Well, the stations that were created, there were 4 of them. One of them focused on mindfulness and gave the participants the opportunity to practice that. There were various resources. There were some handouts that directed them There were some cards and some other activities with mindfulness that gave them different ways to experience them. Participants had a choice as to which and how many of them they wanted to engage in. There was also a self-created kind of help goodie bag station. Did I say that correctly, Chelsea?
Self-care bag.
Self-care bag. And participants got to choose what to fit in their own bag based on their particular needs and interests. And I thought that was really cool. And the participants reported that they loved being able to have that choice. And if they like candy, some of them put more candy in there. Some of them felt like they needed journaling opportunities. They were able to put journals in there. And Chauncey, I'll let you tell about the other two.
So we also had a station on setting boundaries and saying no. And I had questions that I got from teachers and from other media coordinators about questions that they could say no to, or the teachers should be able to say no to, like, do you want to drive a bus? Well, no, I don't want to drive a bus. And the other station was on relaxation, and there were various relaxation models there, and coloring. It's a coloring station and lots of things to color.
Well, and I'm so grateful to both of you because you put all this work into everything. You brought along a wagon, you've got all your materials, but you also were generous in sharing the resources that you put together with listeners today. I want to thank both of you for doing all of this, but then being available to make sure that our listeners could also take advantage of the work that you've done. So, Brian, you are here at this conference. What is something you're going to take away and perhaps put into your daily practice when you get back after this conference?
I think for me, from the conference overall, just the opportunity to reflect on what our school library and media coordinators have shared with us, and to think about ways to more intentionally and purposefully support them, the work I do with them. This really gives me a good idea of a variety of their needs, not just in the region I'm assigned to, but across the state. We think about how we can better utilize what we have available to us to support our school librarians across the state.
Outstanding. How about you, Chauncey? I know that coming to conferences is really important. What is your takeaway?
I like the fact that you meet people and that you meet people that you can help mentor. Because I have a presentation tomorrow with a person who has never presented before. And I was like, I will come with you, we can present. And that gives her an opportunity to let her grow.
Wow. You are amazing people. And thank you so much for letting me steal some time. And I appreciate everything you do today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
My name is Drew Tanazi, and I work at Johnson Street Global Studies. It is a K-8 school in High Point, North Carolina.
Fantastic. Now, friends, I realize the fact that I'm a terribly short person probably doesn't come across in the podcast, but my friend Drew here is not what you would typically see as if I had to stereotype us, he is the opposite of everything that you think of when you think of school librarian. But Drew, would you give us just, tell us a little bit about your journey? Because, friends, I think you are 6'3"?
6'2".
6'2", all right, only 6'2". And, I love the fact that what brought you here and your journey is so incredibly different from other people on the show.
Well, I started my career as a maintenance technician. I built fences, picked up trash, mowed lawns, stuff like that. It didn't quite work out for me, and I wanted something else, so I started looking for jobs. I saw there were library jobs available in my area and needed a master's, and I was like, I'm going to go get my master's. So it worked out. I went to UNCG and met with all the ladies over there, and it was terrifying, but I went to it anyways. And I found that I really enjoyed the classes and just kind of fell into the school system and got a job before I finished. And yeah, I really got tired of my maintenance job, and I needed something more challenging. And being able to be in a school while I was working through my master's degree was very helpful. Having, how do I want to say this? Not being able to put into effect what I was learning was very difficult. Working a full-time job during the pandemic with a brand new baby was, I'm a glutton for punishment. So it was very difficult, but once I got into a school and I was actually able to put into practice everything I was learning, everything kind of clicked. So
I'm going to just ask, do you get questions from random people asking you, how is it you're a school librarian?
I usually have to tell them I'm a school librarian, and the answer I get is, that's awesome. They've never met a non-cool school librarian. So I'm going to take that as a positive step in the right direction.
Well, and friends, no experience we have is ever wasted. I imagine, Drew, that you have been able to build on all of the gained experience that you've had in your life, and you're going to channel that for the benefit of your students in your program.
Yes. I came from a background that's very similar to what my students' parents might have. And I didn't come in wearing rose-colored glasses. I came in understanding that these kids are kids, and I'm not necessarily going to change the world, but if I can help one kid one day at a time, that's all it really takes. So
your students are so lucky, Drew. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
My name's Crystal White. I am the librarian at Thomasville Primary School. It's a pre-K through third grade school, and I'm the only librarian there.
Amazing. So I feel like there's a possibility that we've sort of met through the podcast, but tell us your journey, because the podcast was part of it.
So about a little over 5 years ago, I decided I needed to make a change and leave the classroom as a teacher, but I didn't want to leave schools. So I started talking to my principal at the time about other options, and we landed on the library or the media space. Magically that summer, our school librarian left, and they kind of whispered in my ear the job application. They were seeking applications. I got online and applied, I think, on like a Thursday. On Friday, they called me and said I had an interview on Monday. And on Friday afternoon, I went, I don't know anything about the library. And so I went looking for information, and I found the School Librarians podcast and binged it from the time I got that call until the time I walked into the interview, and I got the job, and now I'm the librarian.
Well, and, it sounds like you were a librarian, you just didn't realize it, because anytime we have problems, we look for answers, and you didn't waste a minute in making sure that you had what you needed to get through that interview process.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I think it was always in my heart, and I just didn't know it.
Well, and you know what? Oftentimes, being a school librarian isn't somebody's first journey, and we sort of evolve into this space, and what it is that we realize about ourselves that would work well. And it helps sometimes to observe somebody who inspires us. For me, it was Carla, the librarian. And, now that you're here, you're in your job, let me ask, you're at this conference. What is it you hope to do moving forward because you've been at this conference?
I hope to take back some of the excitement that being here has brought back into being an educator in general, not just a librarian, not just a teacher, but an overall educator and doing what's best for the kids in my school.
Fantastic. I'm so glad that we had a chance to connect.
Thank you. Me too.
Hi, my name is Jenny Hunt, and I am the media specialist at Southwest Guilford High School in High Point, North Carolina. It's a suburban high school in a quickly growing area of North Carolina.
You were telling me about something that you've done at your high school, which is hugely successful, and you managed to accomplish this goal with a $10 gift card to Starbucks. Is that correct? Tell us what you were able to do with a $10 gift card to Starbucks.
I was able to get the opinion of more than 200 of my students, which is a sizable fraction of our student population. And I have a Canvas Media Center. And through Canvas announcements, I was able to get their opinions on what they wanted lunchtime programming to be. So I asked them what they wanted to learn. If they came to lunch in the library, what they wanted to learn. And all of the respondents had to put their names in. I drew names, and the winner got a Starbucks gift card. And she was so excited, she waved it all the way down the hallway as she walked back to English class.
But I'm curious because, this is, getting anybody to participate in anything, unfortunately, having and apparently $10 is enough. And so give us an idea of, go into a little bit more detail this was a Google form, if I understand. So walk us through what this Google form said. When did you time this? Because am I correct that your administration would want you to do this to help drive your programming?
My administration didn't ask me to do this. This was my idea. But my goal for the media center or the library is for it to be the center of the school. I think every student deserves to have a place in the school. And for a lot of those kids, it's the media center. They just haven't found me yet. So part of it is, hey, I'm here. I want you to come and see me. And in order for them to come and see me, I need to know what they want to see. I asked them how often they wanted to come see me. I asked them what would bring them in. If it was an academic program, if it was a social program, if it was crafts, and then there's always that, what have I missed? Fill in the blank. So that, because I cannot read the mind of a teenager. If I did, I'd be a millionaire.
Well, and forgive me because in generating this form, you knew open-ended questions would not likely get responses.
Right. So in order to have your name in for the Starbucks gift card, you had to complete these questions. I also put in sentence starters. So really, instead of answering open-ended questions, they really just had to type in a word or two, unless they wanted that extra option, because we know that there are a lot of teenagers who like the extra.
Now, I'm just dying to know, was there a response that really blew you away? Our kids surprise us from time to time. Sometimes we think we know everything. What was something that you found so eye-opening about doing this activity with your students?
A lot of them really wanted to know how to use the library, which was a little sad to me. Honestly, I was hoping by the time they got to high school that they would know that. A lot of them wanted to have, they wanted academic skills. One of them wanted to learn calculus in the library, and I thought, I can arrange that, but not with me. So, I got about 6th grade math, and past that, you're on your own, kids.
Yes, if I could do math, I'd teach it. Jenny, I am so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed meeting you.
My name is Sarah Connor. I'm the librarian at Beverly Hills Elementary School in Concord, North Carolina. And we are a kindergarten through 5th grade school, and I am fortunate to get to teach all 300 of our students.
Fantastic. Now, apparently you've heard of the podcast before today, which is good. Congratulations. Not everybody had. That's always good. I'm glad for new listeners, but you've heard the podcast before. But do share with listeners right now how you were able to win over your principal's support for this.
Yeah, so I'd been listening to School Librarians United for a little bit, but last year I went to my principal and said I really wanted to grow my professional learning network. Here's a kind of crazy idea I have for my PDP. Would you be on board with this? And he said, sure, go for it. And so I kind of wrote up a format and listened to one of your podcast episodes each week. And I took notes and wrote, with that, how I could use that in my own library. And it was fantastic. I've now genrefied my collection because of this. I have weeded about 2,000 books because of inspiration from your podcasts. And so it's just so crazy meeting you in person.
Well, and I got to tell you, if I could do this for my professional growth goal, I would definitely do this. So, I appreciate that your principal sounds really open to new ideas. And, the fact is that this is something anybody could do. Let me ask you, where did it stop? So how many episodes did you listen to satisfy your principal's expectations?
I think it started with, it should have been 36. I think I gave myself a goal of 15 a semester, but then it ended up being a lot more than that, because if you listen to the podcast, every week there's just great information. And so it ended up being like 60 episodes or something like that.
There are worse ways to spend time, and you do get credit for it. So thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your experience with the podcast.
And thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Long. I am a school librarian at Bethany Elementary in North Carolina, Rockingham County, North Carolina. So I was on episode 213, making all the mistakes. But I will say, going to Bethany Elementary was definitely not a mistake. Although I miss my former school, it has just been this breath of fresh air to be in a library space that is so supported by my administration. But yeah, my principal won the Administrator of the Year for North Carolina School Library Media Association, and it was so well deserved. I mean, I had almost all of our staff was on helping me to nominate him. He had the idea of our makerspace, and he went with it. And so I walked into this place where the library was already supportive.
Well, and I'm curious, can you just share with listeners, obviously you haven't always worked in a supportive environment, what are some things that listeners can do to really empower themselves to succeed even in spaces where they don't receive that kind of support that you have recognized you're so lucky to have?
Right. Well, I'm kind of on a mission now to put it out there, what can happen when you have a positive administration. So if you're not in that space, I'm definitely reaching out to colleagues, and I think I'm going to try to share out a lot more, maybe use him as the platform to share out what can happen when you have a space, and so that hopefully other librarians who aren't in those positions can use the information that we have. Look, this is what you could have if I was able to do this, and this. Have that documentation of what happens when you have a flourishing library space supported by an administration that allows you to do these wonderful things.
Well, and I know something other state organizations do, and I know this also happens at AASL, is that administrators are free. So if you have a conference for school librarians, if your plus one is your building administrator, they are free. There is no registration fee for an administrator to come to a school librarian conference. That is one way to give them the opportunity to see all the things that we are capable of doing when we are provided with those adequate supports.
And it just gave me the idea. I think as school librarians, what we can do is start infiltrating some of their conferences. If we can partner up with our administration and get, infiltrate their conferences and let them know this is what a partnership with a strong school librarian can do for you. Maybe that's what we need to start doing as librarians, is really just, working with our administrators who will, or our CFs who will, curriculum facilitators, and maybe kind of branch out, into these other spaces so that we can really get out there the wonderful work that we do.
I did talk to a librarian who managed to do that, but that was because they were the guest of a member of that organization. So the academic, leadership conference of such and such, the school librarian was the plus one. The school librarian was the one who actually was part of the presentation, but the guest of the administrator.
Well, maybe we need to be more plus ones. I think that might help us out.
Jennifer Long, thank you so much. I know your episode is incredibly popular because it allows us to be vulnerable and learn from one another. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of the school year.
Oh, thank you so much, and all that you do. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Slater, and this is my 10th year at Northwest School of the Arts in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's the only secondary public arts magnet school in Charlotte. And this is my 20th year in education, and I found my home, and I never want to go anywhere else.
Well, as we say, how nice for you, right? How nice for you. I'm glad for your journey. Okay. So give us an idea of something that you think listeners could benefit from, because obviously there are a lot of folks who are lucky to come to this conference this weekend, but the majority of our listeners for this podcast are not here today.
Yes. I would say that if we're in this profession, we love our students. We love the kids. Hopefully that's true. You meet some people that they complain about the kids. And so we come to our kids with love in our hearts, right? We want the best for them. We advocate for them. And my suggestion would be, too, to look at the adults in your building. And even though sometimes we want to complain about them and they're not doing what we ask them to do, or they're just on their own, doing their own thing, and we don't really care for what they're doing or what they're asking for us to do. And we have all these things on our plate. So my suggestion, what's helped me, is to rejoice when I see them, to be happy. And even if it's quote unquote fake at the beginning, even if I'm like, take a deep breath. Oh, I'm so happy to see you. And even if at first, like there's a part of you that's like, oh my gosh, am I really? No, don't come at me. But if you sit for a second in your heart and just take a breath, and just really see them as a human and see them as a person who's also there to help our students and the same people that we love, that we know that we're on the same team. And so if we see them with love in our hearts and we want to help them, and I think it just makes things better. And a little segue, like on the side of this too, is that when we imagine what we want to see in our libraries, what we want to see in our schools, and our brain's going to look for those things that we're thinking of. So if we look for the positive, if we look for everyone being on board and on the same page, and we're looking for the kindness and the smiles, and we're not looking for, the negativity and the people coming at us, whatever it is, whatever those, and I know we're all thinking in our heads right now of those people and those things, but if we're not thinking about that and we're thinking about what we want to see, we're going to see more of that. And if we approach the people who are coming at us, I have one teacher, I love her, but she's a New Yorker and, sometimes likes to tell you about how she doesn't have time, for example, to do the things that you're asking her to do. And if I come to her with an open heart, when she's standing in front of me and like, yes, I hear you. So we just want to be heard, right? We all just want to be heard. So we listen to our students, we hear our students, we let them know that they're seen. If we do the same for our coworkers as well, I think everything changes, right? And she comes at me now with a big smile on her face. And I've had many stories of that with administrators and other people in my school buildings, that our relationships completely change just because of me and me changing who I am inside and how I view the world around me.
Well, this is an amazing sort of approach, and I think it takes a great deal of intentionality when we recognize, and all of us, as people who work in one spot where everybody can find us, we do sort of feel like we are going to encounter a great deal of people who know that we happen to be there, and they can count on at least being able to vent to another adult. And if we contextualize what it is that they are dealing with, and hopefully being the place where we can sort of give them that support, but also recognize that while they may be in a space that's negative, we have there's a possibility that we can help them in some way, and that we're just going to get to that place. I love that you remind us of this, because it is so important. I am so grateful you decided to share with us today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. I love talking to you. Thank you.
My name is Lindsay Santiago. I work at Parkside Elementary in Wake County, North Carolina. My school is a multi-track year-round school, which is a unique schedule. We have students on 4 different calendars that rotate in and out of the building throughout the year. So I'm there pretty much all year round. And we have about 950 students, but maybe 700, 750 are in the building at any time.
Wow. And we're going to also meet your partner in crime. This is your presentation buddy, somebody that you've obviously worked with and collaborated with. I love a team. All right, introduce yourself and tell us about your school.
My name is Ashley Clark, and I am at Scotts Ridge Elementary, also in Wake County, Apex, North Carolina. We are on a traditional calendar. We have about 800 students in the building. K5.
Wow. And you know what? I was catching part of your presentation, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about your presentation and what are some of these big takeaways, because the room was packed. And of course, I had to see all the excitement, and you had an absolutely captive audience.
So we presented on having junior librarians and having student helpers in the library and how they can be really beneficial for your program, but also how it really benefits the students themselves.
So let's speak to that. What were some of the things that really has just transformed your program when it comes to using junior helpers?
So I think our first point was that it creates leaders in the building and creates ownership for the students in the library space. And also, let's be honest, it's helpful. The kids love it. They love being a part of the library, having that ownership in the library space and helping other kids and
when I was an elementary librarian, I had upwards of 50 kids who would come in at any time during the day because it was cheaper. It was free because the parents didn't have to pay for the kinder care that happened in the morning. So they would come and work in the library. But you're also winning parents over. Parents now adore the librarian because you're the one giving their kids confidence. But tell me other things about what it is about having these junior librarians, these helpers coming and helping you.
I think, honestly, we need it. Like, our library is a busy, chaotic place. We have tons of students in and out of the door every day. We have a really high circulation. And if I didn't have their help, we probably wouldn't function without them, honestly.
Well, and this is about empowering students. I know at this age, they're so task-oriented and they want to help. And now you're just channeling that energy. Can you give us some examples of things that you've done to make sure that this is something that they can feel successful in doing?
Yeah, so first we had an application that they all had to fill out that kind of just shares what their responsibilities are. And then we sent it to home with their caregivers so that the parents and caregivers were aware of what the expectations were. And then they had to come for a training so that it was official and they knew what our expectations were. And we trained them, and they did different things in the library, like checking in books, building displays, helping younger students look for books in the morning, and Lindsay can add.
Well, and I really am curious because I think your teachers would also be very grateful for this program. I'm sure your administrators are as well.
Yeah, and we both are pretty purposeful about the students that we choose. And I think Ashley's even a little bit better at this. I tend to take everybody. I'm like, come on in, I'll find something for you to do. But I know Ashley and I both, we try to pick students that are looking for their place. A student that maybe is not already in leadership somewhere else, a student that maybe they're really shy, but they do want to try to be a leader, and the library is their place. And so now they have a chance to lead in their comfort zone.
I'm really hoping the two of you will team up again, and this isn't the last we've heard from you. I know there are a lot of librarians who work in elementary schools who are looking for ways to really improve the type of programming that they can do and the type of supports they can have. Would you please consider joining us for an episode sometime in the future? And oh, by the way, thank you for sharing your presentation. Most listeners who are tuning in right now will never get to attend NC Slamma or watch a presentation of yours. So thank you very much.
Oh, Amy, thank you so much for having us. And we would love to be on your podcast.
Yes, and the link is below. Everything that we do for our program, for our junior librarians, you'll have access to it.
Thank you. Until we meet again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christy Sartain. I am a school librarian at E.E. Smith High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm just starting my 11th year of that, and absolutely love being a high school librarian. That's really what I've wanted to do since second grade.
And one of the reasons why I am here today at your conference, tell us a little bit about where you are in your path and know a little about how you've managed the demands of the role you have.
So since I've wanted to be a librarian since second grade, I have been very passionate my whole life about libraries and about reading and about being a librarian. So when I started in my fictional student, I got my master's degree really late. I became a librarian really late, and I'm only my 11th year doing it. So I think because of that has helped me really want to strive to further the field of school librarianship. I want to support librarians. I want to elevate librarians, and I want to make sure that they all know they are supported and that there are things that we can offer for them to be able to go further in their career. Because it's not just about us. It's about the whole field, and it's about everybody in it, and of course the students. But the librarians have to be supported for the students to be supported.
You know, as the president-elect, you are instrumental in so much that is happening this weekend and moving forward. And I'm just going to tell you right now, what a wonderful place to be a school librarian in the state of North Carolina, because you truly demonstrate a way of making sure people do feel like they have some success and support as they go about their journey as a school librarian here in North Carolina. But you have managed to be incredibly gracious and forgiving, and I think you have some great leadership skills that other state leaders and their organizations could learn from. How have you managed all the stress that has come with being the president-elect of your organization?
Thank you for saying that. That really does mean a lot to me, coming from you, who's spoken to so many school librarians all over the world. I think one of the things that helps me the most is to accept that I am not perfect and I'm going to make mistakes. And I ask for grace when I do that with people, and offer grace, because if you don't offer it, you're definitely not going to get it back. But I have found over the course of my career and attending many of these conferences and learning from other fantastic librarians that instead of focusing on the negative and apologizing, instead we say, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. So you acknowledge that you're going to make a mistake, but you're not necessarily spending all of your time apologizing for that. You are thanking people for their grace for overlooking your mistakes.
You know, and I think that gives everybody, as somebody who would hear that, I would automatically find myself incredibly just like put on a different, like I have to sort of reconfigure what I'm going to say to you next, because instead of being defensive, you have offered me a different way of looking at how you're going to approach whatever it is we're dealing with.
Absolutely. So I try to take that as well as give it. So it is very much, grace is a two-way street. And I know, with COVID, we always said, give grace, give grace, give grace. But we have to do that for each other too. And we have to be willing to accept the grace. I've heard so many people say, oh my gosh, this is an amazing conference. And that is hard for me. It is really hard for me to do that. And I didn't do this by myself. No one can put something like this on in a vacuum. My committee has been everything. If I didn't have these amazing people working for me, we probably wouldn't have had a conference, because I am not good at this kind of stuff at all. So it has definitely been the people for that. So it's hard for me to accept that. So my initial thing is to deflect. Oh, it wasn't me. It was somebody else. But it was somebody else. But learning how to take the grace and the thanks and the appreciation, but also include the other people in it, is definitely something I have had to learn. I've struggled with, but I've definitely had to learn that over my career.
Christy Sartain, you are wonderful, and I'm so grateful you invited me to join in the celebration that our school librarians here in the state of North Carolina. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I will say, Amy, that some people came to this conference just to hear you talk, and I'm not mad about that, because I did too.
Have a great rest of the year.
Thank you so much. You too.
Friends, if you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. One last friendly reminder, friends, use the code UNITED to take advantage of Capstone's generous $20 discount off an order of $100 or more, and librarians who book their very first Literati Book Fair for this upcoming school year and mention the code UNITED when booking may qualify to receive a $500 gift card from Titlewave. Visit the link in today's show notes and call the Literati team to see if you qualify. The topic of our next episode will be Spotlight OASL and my conversation with the school librarians of Oregon. I hope you will tune in.